So it is filmed in front of a live studio audience. Today's episode, you're going to watch a grown man cry in front of you. This is Wednesday. So the thing is, you guys are even bringing the good kids down with you. The ones who normally sit back, like, you're not going to pull me. They're like, well, everyone else is being a hooligan kid. Hooligan kid! Anyway, Wednesday, December 1st. Welcome to our last month of 2021, and then we get to 2022. And let's see, we are going to library tomorrow. We are not having any other quizzes this week. We have one quiz next week, and then we have a test the week after that. And then we're getting close to, poetry's short. There's not a whole lot we do with poetry. It only takes a couple weeks to get through the whole thing, so yay. And then we did this, and we had the kids stand up and then freak out and stuff like that, which was definitely entertaining for me. And then we got to the word to yesterday. Stanza. What is the definition of stanza?
A paragraph above.
Nicely done. How do you know when a stanza ends?
Separated by a big space.
There you go. So how many stanzas in that poem?
Two.
Nicely done. And then in this poem?
6.
9.
I'm sorry, okay. I put that one up there, and you guys had to sit there and look at it for a second and count. I put this one up there, and right away you guys all said 9.
It's because we had to focus hard on that one because we had to guess yesterday.
And then it was also more.
And then yesterday you told us that one, and that one's more memorable.
Yeah.
Okay. Learning. Just from there. And then we also got the speaker, and the speaker in a poem is the...
Character talking to the audience in the poem.
There you go. And we got into our poem yesterday with Bowen, who did his excellent reading right after me, who put me to shame. And then we'll get back to that one in a little bit here, finding our evidency things. And we're going to figure out who the speaker is and evidency things that goes from there. Then we're going to read a longer poem that's going to deal with insects and danger and try to have... It's going to threaten death. Wait, no, there's death in it. I apologize. I forgot for a second. I was like, was there death in it? There actually is death in it. So, yeah, I'm glad that brings you joy and happy. Hi, silly.
Hi. You said yesterday we're going to start on the job of the person in the poem.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to have to rewind also because there's a chance some kids were dead yesterday. So we're going to help them out.
It's Bill Gates.
So, we'll do the quick reading of it again. We're going to just do the speedy version because it's poetry. Then the evidence of the gender, and you guys will have the quick conversation. You guys will yell at me, and I'll yell back at you. And we'll do the thing about how the person looks. Because also, I have the kids at home, not that kid, this kid on the video, because you guys got farther than my other classes. My other classes didn't get as far into that one, so I have to try to educate them. You have to think about the dumb kids, other kids also. Kids, right. Right, they're the same words. I don't know why I would use the same word twice.
We're all the same.
Bowen, did you want to read again?
Yes, please.
Apparently you're being volunteered to read. I'm going to read first, and I'll have you read, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just going in. One of the 7 has somewhat to say. Remember how it was before she came? The picks and shovels dropped beside the door. The sink piled high. The meals any old time. Our jackets where we'd flung them on the floor. The mud tracked in. The clutter on the shelves. None of us shaved or more than halfway clean. Just 7 old bachelors living by ourselves. Those were the days, if you know what I mean. Bowen?
Oh, I thought we were in the same.
Not yet, no.
Remember how it was before she came? The picks and shovels dropped beside the door. The sinks piled high. The meals any old time. Our jackets where we'd flung them on the floor. The mud tracked in, the clutter on the shelves. None of us shaved, no more than halfway clean. Just 7 old bachelors living by ourselves. Those were the days, if you know what I
Live studio audience. Our evidence as to gender of speaker.
Bachelor man.
And what does bachelor mean?
Single man.
There you go. So just like the single ladies, it's the single man. And then what do we call the single chick?
Bachelorette.
Nicely done. For those of you who learn it from TV on that one. And then as far as how does he look, where's our evidence on that one?
He has a beard.
Scrubby.
Where's our evidence he has a beard?
None of us
He's
shave.
not halfway clean.
I have a lot of students who are not more than halfway clean. They don't have beards. So those two things don't necessarily connect. You can be dirty and still have no facial hair. But that was a solid try. But yes, I will take the not having the shaved part. That's going to give us our big fuzzy head thing from there. And then, let's see. Oh, how many roommates does the speaker have?
6.
Nice. Where's your evidence for that?
7
7
bachelors.
bachelors.
And then who is it that he's upset about?
The woman.
The girl showing up. And we're going to get to more about why he's upset in the second stanza. But all we know is some girl showed up and then he and his 6 roommates are upset that she's there. And then we had not gotten to his job yet. And now we have the evidence as to what he does for a living. Jensen?
There's shovels and picks, so it has to do with something that they're doing. Those things.
So what does someone do with those things?
They go mining or yeah.
Works for me. Mining is a big work something. Xavier?
They commit something that gets them thrown into jail.
Like mining? Are you trying to allude to murder?
No, they're trying to escape.
How very gentle of you, Xavier. So yes, I guess a person could use those for murder tools. That's not where all of us were going, but we know where Xavier was going with that one. Iggy?
I'm not saying that they murder people,
Good.
but they might bury them,
Ah.
and they might also murder them.
Oh, that was exciting there for a moment. So yes, you're actually not the first kid who has mentioned they could be the people who do the burying of people. There's a name. He wants to say caretaker.
Grave
It's not right.
diggers?
Aren't they just
Grave digger?
No, grave diggers like rob graves.
Isn't he
and
like
stuff.
that monster truck thing?
There is the grave digger who's the monster truck. I was thinking of the guy who is like also a wrestler who like jumps off the top ropes and it's like the grave something. I don't know. Brain hurts. No word thinkies. Grave digger's the truck.
forget everything.
Yeah, Grave
Yeah.
Digger's like the monster.
Yeah, but there's.
Oh,
Thank you. Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
Oh, wait, the wrestlers?
Right. The guys who work at
Undertaker.
Axel.
yeah, that's what it is.
Undertaker. Thank you. That's the wrestler with the long hair.
Oh my god, I
jumps-
was thinking that. Now
Me too. See,
He
we're all.
doesn't jump off ropes. He's too big.
It takes him 6 feet.
Do not weight shame that man. Good God.
He's too tall.
So yes, Undertaker. I've had people say the same things. That was an earlier one. Axel.
I thought it was a mortician.
Those are different. Morticians are the ones who put the chemicals inside of you. They're not the ones who do the actual digging. So they're different. They hang out together like the same bars, but they have different jobs. Bowen.
I think he lives in Minecraft and does all of it, including the monster truck.
Maybe it's
Could be all of those
Not
things. So,
drives it. He is.
and let's see. Ooh, there is one more hint towards the digging and mining, aside from just talking about the pickaxes and the shovels. Silly.
The mud.
The fact that whatever it is they're doing, they're tracking mud throughout the entire house. That would be our other 2 big clues going into it. Oh, and how, speaking of house, what kind of house are they keeping? As far as how does it look, and evidence as far as that one goes into it.
Not clean.
dirty.
Trash.
Our
garbage.
Lainey.
Messy.
Elena,
Oh, messy, dirty,
where's your evidence?
the mud and the clutter and the stuff on the floor and the sink.
I would accept that. There's mine. Along those same lines. And no, he's not a cannibal that just ate somebody. I think that's supposed to be ketchup. Because I had kids earlier who were freaking out thinking it was a cannibal child. No, that would just be
Maybe they
dishes
did
that you
kill
guys
him.
have. So yes, they have an incredibly messy house with things thrown everywhere.
I think I know what it is.
Who the speaker is?
Yeah.
Hold on to that, we're not there yet. We have to get to the second stanza, where we find out why the girl is annoying him, and then we get to go from there. But first, I get to read it, and we have to have a new volunteer read it after me, who's not going to be Bowen.
I have a question.
Yes, Dylan.
Is like the character a real person?
It's a real character.
So they're based off of person.
Sure. Do we have no one who wants to read? Do you guys just want to hear my melodic voice?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, so you guys will clap, but you won't read.
I can make a
We
different
don't
voice.
clap.
We're not gonna
We
be
won't clap for you.
No, I don't mind you reading, Bowen, but I'd like to spread it around and make other kids have to step up and be brave also. But there's another brave child. Way to step into it, silly. Someday I'm just going to randomly pick on children after you. So when we're at the next poem, we have to have 6 readers. I'm just going to pick random kids. So we kind of, don't you give me squinty face. 6, it's like 5, but bigger. She scrubs, she sweeps, she even dusts the ceilings. She's made us build a tool shed for our stuff. Dinner's at 8, and the table setting's formal. If I weren't afraid I'd hurt her feelings, I'd move until we get her married off and things can gradually slip back to normal. Silly.
She scrubs, she sweeps, she even dusts the ceilings. She's made us build a tool shed for our stuff. Dinner's at 8, the table setting's formal. And if I wasn't afraid I'd hurt her feelings, I'd move until we get her married off. And then things can gradually slip back to normal.
So now we find out that girl is bothering him and his roommates. What is girl specifically doing to bother him and roommates?
Cleaning.
Parenting them.
Clean. What kind of? Because cleaning by itself shouldn't just be bad. What kind of cleaning does she do that's really bothersome?
Organization.
I can see that. There's definitely scrubbing. There's girl. There's cleaning. And so the cleaning she does, I would say almost falls under extreme cleaning. Because I think one of the things she does probably goes a bit further than how most of you clean, or at least how most of your parents would clean. Dylan?
Dust the ceilings.
Which seems a little on the severe side of
Dust
the
on the
whole.
ceilings.
I mean, I guess if you have dusty ceilings, but I mean. Now, given my room, prior to them redoing it, I had dust on my ceilings because I had posters that had been hanging up there for 10 years. And you went up there and you smacked the poster and rained dust down on the children, and it was great. And so I could use that as an example, but now I don't have it because now my ceiling's all clean, which is sad and boring, but that's okay. And then we get to them to theirs. Now, those of you who are starting to figure out who the speaker is, before we get to speaker, who's the girl in the poem?
Snow White.
Snow White. So the girl in the poem is supposed to be Snow White, this one from this whole Disney movie thing, and this also was a book before that, because in the movie she goes around and she cleans. So who would be the 7 dudes that she goes and bathes?
The 7 dwarfs.
Oh
Nicely
my
done.
god, how did that not click?
I don't know. And so here's where we bring
You
in
can click off on
the 7 dwarfs.
Oh my
But we're not done. Using the tone of the poem, you can figure out which of the dwarfs it is.
It's Grumpy.
Oh.
Doug.
I think that was how learning felt. And so the specific dwarf would be
Grumpy.
Grumpy. And so the idea is of all the dwarfs, because of the tone of the poem and the fact that he comes across as all upset and grumpy, it becomes Grumpy, and that's why I say it's a character that you guys know. He was not a real person. You can't write him a letter. Sure.
Can you go back?
I can.
Can you do it one more time? That's only 6.
I think Dopey fell off. It comes along with his name. He's a special child. The 7th grader of the dwarfs. Bowen.
So I searched up the 7 dwarfs.
Good
I
job.
had no clue about any of the dwarfs.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And I haven't. And Grumpy looks like a retired fisherman.
Right there. That's Grumpy. I'm so proud of you for.
He doesn't look like that.
No, that would be a random. That's a human.
Oh.
So there's every chance that was from the live action one they came out with. Yeah, that was probably from the live action ones they did. And that's just a random man who's playing the role of Grumpy.
Well, all I was gonna say is there's a Disney show based off of all the Disney stories, and that's probably his character.
That could be related to it. He does look just like a random fisherman in that one. I was going off of this one, which does not have a random fisherman in it.
Okay.
By the way, in the poem, our next bit of evidence that I have you find is, does the speaker, who is Grumpy, hate the girl?
No.
I guess.
Where's your evidence to prove one way or the other to say, prove to me, does he hate girl or not hate girl? Granananan.
Said if I weren't afraid I'd hurt her feelings.
And what does that mean?
He doesn't want to hurt her feelings.
Does he like her or not like her?
He likes her.
Is correct. And so that would be your evidence. The fact of not wanting to hurt someone's feelings means that you're trying to not. Now, he does hate something. It's just not her. The thing he hates would be the cleaning. So that's the part that he hates, is all the cleaning that goes into it, as opposed to hating her. Are you guys Googling a picture of Grumpy now?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Something else came up for me.
Was it that kid losing points?
No, Dylan, I just.
Do you guys know what alliteration is?
Yeah.
The answer is you should. Beginning of the year, we did a project in the old room where you guys had to interview another kid, and then part of your interviewing thing, you had to do an alliteration with their name. So in theory, you should know. If you don't know, you might want to write it down because it's a thing you're going to have to know here coming up soon while you slap your desk at me. So what is alliteration then? Iggy?
A bunch of words starting with the same sound.
There you go. Bunch of words all starting with the same sound. You know, Sam slapped the silly snake on Sunday, where you have the repetition of the S sound. There's also a thing called assonance, but that's the repetition of a vowel sound. But we'll get to that later. For now, we'll just consider it all the same because it makes it easier on your brains.
That
Allison?
isn't like consonants?
Consonants?
Yes.
And so that's the repetition of consonants. And so typically you can break it down even more, but yeah. We'll just stick with alliteration, which is the overall family of things from there. The reason I bring it up is we have our first example of alliteration in this poem. Not even applause with you yet. Which stanza is the alliteration in?
Second.
Second one.
Yes.
Yeah.
What letter is repeated?
S.
S.
And it is... There you go. She scrubs, she sweeps, she... So that's our repetition of that sound over and over again. Congratulations. That's our first poem. Simple as that.
Wow.
Let's go to a tougher one. Thank you. I'll be here all day.
You live here?
It sure feels like it. Caterpillar! So we're going to take a look at our caterpillar poem. On this one, to anger Ryan, it is 6 stanzas, which means I get to pick on 6 random children who are going to get a chance to read this one as we go through. You're going to look for alliteration, similes, metaphors, things that confuse you and stuff like that. If we have no volunteers, I will randomly pick children to then fill in those random spots while they just stare at me. And then from there, sure, Bowen, would you like the first stanza? Works for me. Sure, Ryan, would you like the second stanza? That works for me. Silly, we'll give you the third stanza. And we'll go Carter, the 4th stanza. I can down for the 4th stanza from there. Truman, you're back alive. We'll give you the 5th stanza. And the kid who is happy to figure out who Grumpy is, we're going to give you stanza number 6.
There were 2 of us.
The one who's put her head down and slapped everything because apparently the learning was overwhelming her. The caterpillar. I will read through the whole thing, and then I'm going to have you guys read through the whole thing, and then we're going to break it down and figure out who is the speaker in the poem, what's our alliteration in this poem, what are all the different things. If you can find the death in the poem, this is the poem of death that's going to make Dylan all kinds of happy and stuff like that. The caterpillar. Under this loop of honeysuckle, a creeping colored caterpillar. I gnaw the fresh green hawthorn spray. I nibble it leaf by leaf away.
Death.
Down beneath grow dandelion. That's not death.
Plant died.
Killed the plant.
Ay, ay, ay.
Eating.
If we're counting plant death, we're going to have a lot more death than that then. Down beneath grow dandelions, daisies, old man's looking glasses, rooks flap croaking across the lane. I eat and swallow and eat again. By the way, why do I pronounce that as again?
Does it rhyme?
Yeah, not because I'm a fancy lad, although I am fancy, but it's to make sure we do the whole rhyming thing. If it were the other way around, if it said, I eat and swallow and eat again, rooks flap croaking across the, then you have to pronounce it as the lin. So you have to make sure you keep your rhyme scheme in there. Here come raindrops helter-skelter, I munch and nibble and regarding. Hawthorn leaves are juicy and firm. I'll mind my business, I'm a good worm. When I'm old, tired, melancholy, I'll build a leaf-green mausoleum close by here on this lovely spray and die and dream the ages away. Some say worms win resurrection with white wings beating flitter-flutter, but wings or a sound sleep, why should I care? Either way, I'll miss my share. Under this loop of honeysuckle, a hungry, hairy caterpillar, I crawl on my high and swinging seat and eat, 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 as one ought to eat. Make sure you have your stanza circled, so when we get to it here in a second, that's when you're going to read it. So I'm not going to have us all read the whole thing, but that way we don't have to come back and yell at a kid. Stanza 1. For this first one, as we get into it, we should start off with alliteration, I think. Oh, that's right. Who reads stanza 1? Bowen! Let's have you read stanza 1. We'll find our alliteration. Go for it.
Under this roof of honeysuckle, a creeping colored caterpillar. I gnaw the fresh green hawthorn spray, and I nibble it leaf by leaf away.
Have alliteration in this one. And where's our alliteration here?
Second one.
A creeping colored
There you go. Creeping colored caterpillar. The next part we're going to go through the poems is to figure out the words you might not know. Honeysuckle. Do you guys know what honeysuckle is?
Honey, put it in
Nice enough. It is a plant. If you don't know, if you've never experienced honeysuckle, it looks like this. It looks like, I don't know, little funnels on it. As the little flowers, and it has like these loopy things that come off it, and it has like a little funnel in the middle. It collects the nectar from the bees that go around, and it has the nectar on the inside of it. You can pluck them off, and you can pop them in your mouth, and they actually taste like honey. That's where they got the name honeysuckle from. And so you can actually just sort of like, when I was a kid and my grandma was around, who was like from before dinosaur times, she tried to convince me that this was candy that grew on trees. And as a small child, I believed her because grandparents would never lie to you. And so she was like, you can pop those off, and they're all sweet. And I was like, yeah, a candy tree. And I popped them off, and I threw it in my mouth, and that tastes like a flower. But apparently, when you were old and poor, it tasted like candy because you've never had candy before. But those are it's like, you can eat them now. It's just, it feels like you're eating a flower. It just, if you like honey, it's like a honey-flavored flower. Hawthorn spray. You know what hawthorn spray is. If not, then we can use our clues in poem. 1, what color is the spray?
Green.
Good use of clues on that one. And we can also figure out the main speaker in the who is the main speaker in the poem?
Robert Gray.
Caterpillar. So if the caterpillar is the one gnawing on it and is green, what would your guess as a hawthorn spray would be?
A leaf.
There you go. That's part of, again, what I'm going to have you guys do is figure out the clues in the poem. It's called a spray, not because it's what you use to keep your cat off the couch, but because if you had a spray bottle full of magic leaf juice and you were God and you were making trees and you went and you sprayed it out, it's supposed to look like it sprays out. And it sort of sprays out from like a little leafy thing. So it's called a hawthorn spray. And then, see, from there, Colin, who is our speaker in the poem?
The caterpillar.
That's where our caterpillar comes in from there. And so caterpillar is our main speaker who, and so far in poem, our caterpillar has Tizzy. Let's go from there. Our caterpillar has one main job, activity, hobby so far in the poem. His main job, activity, hobby is?
Eating leaves.
There you go. Nom. And so our caterpillar's main hobby, job is eating leaves so far. It's a nice, boring start to a poem. Which brings us to stanza 2, where we get to introduce dangers into caterpillar land. The first one is just a happy town. Stanza 2, we get to have dangers coming in. Who's my stanza 2 person? Stanza 2! Go for it, Ryan.
Down beneath grow dandelions, David's old man's looking glasses, brooks flap rumbling across the land, I eat and swallow and eat again.
Did you say again? Nicely done, Ryan. Go you. Apparently it was a very strong performance on your part. So as we get into this one again, let's see, down beneath. Do you guys know what dandelions are?
Yeah.
Apparently, I was unaware of the fact that some kids did not what do dandelions look like?
They're like
Yellow.
Yellow.
Are they always yellow?
Yes.
Turn white and yellow.
Is correct. I didn't realize kids did not know that these are the same as those.
What?
Like, they're the same thing. And when I introduced this last year, I had kids whose brains exploded and started calling me a liar, and they had to Google it to make sure I was not making it up. But they're the same thing. It starts yellow, and then when it's ready to pollinate and send out little fluffy things, it turns into that. So they're the same thing. So when you pluck that off,
No,
and
that's
you
just
go,
a seed form.
then it goes phew. Tomorrow we'll pick up with ruining your neighbor's lawns by throwing dandelions around.